Think of a charity. One that means something to you personally. Got it in your mind? Yeah. All right. Now raise your hand if you have ever given money to that charity. Wonderful. I knew I was in a room full of generous givers. I thought I was a generous giver. But a few years ago, something happened to make me believe I wasn't. Let me explain. I grew up in a generous community. I watched my parents give to charities that meant a lot to them. And I started giving at an early age as well. When I was 9, sadly, a friend of mine died from a brain tumor. She was also 9. I wanted to do something. I decided to organize and run a little summer fair with food and crafts and entertainment provided by me and my friends. We did raise some money, and I donated all the proceeds to a cancer charity. I still have the thank you letter they sent me. So giving to charity has always been part of my life. However, I didn't used to spend much time thinking about it. For many years, I was busy building my career, building my business, living my life. I always had a handful of donations going out of my bank account every month to my chosen charities. So I was good. I could just forget about it. But one day, during the pandemic, I suddenly had a curious thought. I knew that over the years, my income had really gone up, but had my giving kept up? You know those donations going out of my bank? Well, I hadn't reassessed them for years, despite the fact that I was earning significantly more than when I'd set them up. But what's the right amount? How much should I be giving? Have you heard of tithing? It's an idea from the church that suggests we give 10% of our income. All religions seem to promote similar ideas. Tzedakah in the Jewish tradition, the Muslim practice of zakat, the Hindu concept of dana, the Sikh custom of dasvand, and many others. I knew I wasn't giving 10%, but I was very curious about my true number. So I sat down and did a little calculation for myself, looked at my regular charitable giving as a percentage of my net income. I was shocked and very upset, actually, to see that I wasn't even giving 1%. I just stared at the number on the screen. I see myself as a thoughtful, caring person, a generous person. But I definitely didn't feel generous or even very good about myself when I saw that low number. I finally pulled myself together and increased some of my regular donations. Then I began to wonder, how many other people have lost sight of their charitable giving? I started speaking to friends and colleagues about it. A few said they didn't give to charity and never thought about it. Now, maybe they didn't grow up with the idea of charitable giving, so it's not something they've ever done. I've had so many conversations about this now. Many people do give, yay, but they don't know how much or how often they give. They tend to donate money when they feel inspired, or when someone they know is doing a challenge, like a marathon or a sponsored bike ride, or when there's an official fundraiser like Red Nose Day, or when someone shakes a can at them in the street. Some people have told me they don't want to give because their income is irregular or uncertain. They tell me they'll give when they're earning more, when they feel wealthier. I get it. I have often thought that too in the past. Others have told me they don't want to give because they don't know how their money will be used. I usually suggest they do some research and maybe consider smaller, local charities who do good work in their community. Still others have told me they volunteer and give their time, which is absolutely amazing. But then often they feel they don't have to give any money to charity. On the other hand, speaking to dozens of charities, I've learned that many of them are suffering because they can't predict how well their fundraising efforts will go or how much money will be coming in. My very first conversation was with a charity leader called Sue, and it shook me to my core. I asked Sue about their regular donors, and she said, "We don't really have any regular donors." What? No regular donors? But how do you budget? Surely you have regular bills and expenses. Yeah, well, we can't really budget. We've always tried to get more regular donations, but it's never really happened. So they can't do a forecast or even budget. Turns out this is a common problem for charities. Some have had to let team members go. Some have cut back on vital services they provide, and some, heartbreakingly, have gone out of business. Yes, I just used the word business because charities need to be run like businesses, right? They need real money every single month for essential resources to serve their clients. Imagine if that charity you support got into financial trouble or collapsed and couldn't provide their service anymore. Sadly, some UK hospices have recently got into financial trouble, as you may have heard. Want to hear a really shocking statistic? Do you? Since the start of the pandemic, charities globally have lost over $15 billion in donations. Many people panicked and canceled their donations due to fear and uncertainty. But as things started getting back to normal, they didn't always reinstate those donations. I think they just forgot and have been busy living their lives and doing all the things that weren't possible while the world was shut down. I was part of that $15 billion problem. And maybe you have been too. We're still living in uncertain times. Some people are really struggling and can't make ends meet. They don't have enough money for their rent, food, and utilities, much less little luxuries like a restaurant meal or a takeout or even a few fancy coffees. If you are in that situation, my heart goes out to you, and I hope and pray that things turn around for you soon. But what does this actually have to do with us? Those of us in this room and everyone watching the video, we're just a bunch of individuals doing our work, making our little contribution to the world. Surely these big issues should be solved by big business and governments, right? We always think that governments and big companies should be doing more to fix problems in our society, and maybe they should. But the truth is, we can't always count on them to spend money in the right way. And besides, there are over 2 million charities and nonprofits in the Western world alone. So the money simply can't be distributed fairly. Guess what? We, as individuals, can create faster and more effective change than government bodies. We have the power to help charities recover all the money they've lost since the start of the pandemic. And we can help them survive for the long term so they can continue doing their important work. It doesn't require any of us to come up with a lot of money. It doesn't have to be 10% of our income. It does, however, involve each of us committing to a small donation every month. Yes, you and me and our friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, lots of individual caring people, each doing their little bit and supporting the causes that touch their hearts. We're all aware that the cost of living has gone up a lot. But I wonder, could we give just 1% of our monthly income to charity, to the causes we care about? It's a personal decision, but I think many of us could do this. I'm talking about those of us who are comfortable enough to have that restaurant meal or takeout or the fancy coffees or even a bit of travel. The little idea that sparked my curiosity a few years ago has turned into a big mission now, to encourage lots of caring individuals to each consider giving 1% of their monthly income. Are you curious about your current giving level? You can easily calculate your current donations, then reflect and decide what you want to do. Just imagine if each person at our event today and everyone watching after the event decided to commit just 1%. Imagine all those little donations adding up to make a really, really big difference. Could you commit to giving 1%? Or let me put it another way. Could you live on 99% of your income? Thank you.